Hello, I'm Kaustubh Dhole, and I'm presenting our recent work, ConQRet, done with my collaborators from Emory, Kaishu, and Eugene Agustin. In this work, we deal with the task of evaluating long-form RAG by introducing a novel task called Retrieval Augmented Argumentation, or Argument Generation, or RARG for short. In this task, we are given a controversial topic, like should employers be able to mandate vaccines, or should LLMs be open sourced, etc., and a stance like pro or con, or for or against. The aim is to retrieve relevant evidence documents for each stance and then use them to generate an argument which is grounded in that evidence and is of high quality. Previous work in argumentation or argument generation has concentrated on assessing argument quality without considering the impact of retrieval. So our work proposes a novel long-form RAG dataset called ConQRet. We also implement a reference RARG system, and then we perform an empirical validation of state-of-the-art LLMs for RARG. To address many of these shortcomings and enable research on complex evidence-based argumentation and RAG evaluation, we develop and present a novel benchmark, ConQRet, Controversial Questions for Argumentation and Retrieval. ConQRet can be employed for argument generation, retrieval, as well as long-form RAG evaluation. ConQRet is constructed from procon.org, a popular website of expert-written arguments on various controversial topics with two stances. Each argument on Procon provides human annotated references to various public websites, like the one shown in the purple box. We hence augment Procon arguments by retrieving the actual URL links pointed out by these references, so that they could be used as ground truth evidence and for retrieval tasks. Now here is our reference RAG system. We use the given controversial topic as a query and then retrieve the top K documents using a BM25 index. These documents are then re-ranked using stance condition re-rankers, where we use a list-wise instruction for each stance. These re-ranked documents are then fed to a GPT-4o mini model to generate arguments for each stance. We now introduce our experiments and analysis, as well as LLM judges for evaluating RARG, and describe methods to validate them. And for that, we utilize the ARC quality corpus and our newly introduced ConQRet. The ARC quality corpus contains 330 arguments, each annotated by experts across 15 quality dimensions using a 3-point Likert scale, low, medium, high. We validate 3 evaluation metrics by introducing multiple LLM judges for each of the 3 metrics. One for argument quality, that is how well can LLMs judge the quality of a long answer like an argument, and 2 RAG metrics, namely context relevance, that is how relevant are the retrieved documents for a particular controversial topic, and answer groundedness, that is, how faithful is the generated answer to the retrieved evidence. We assess argument quality through 15 fine-grained dimensions gathered by Waxsmith et al. We introduce a listwise evaluation instruction, which presents the detailed definitions of these 15 dimensions within a single inference call and instruct the model to return the values of these 15 dimensions. The listwise approach requires a single inference call and a reduced number of tokens compared to a pointwise approach. However, LLMs, LLMs are known for their lack of robustness. So we employ a self-consistency style listwise prompt and compute the mean across 3 different listwise orderings. In the listwise plus RAG approach, we instruct the model to generate argument groundedness and context relevance, both along with the argument quality. The context relevance is computed for a concatenation of all the retrieved documents. In the RAG fine-grained version, the context relevance is computed at the granularity of each document. Okay, so now let's look at the results. So here we present the inter-annotator agreement between human experts and LLM annotations for each fine-grained quality dimension. On the ARC quality dataset, we find that when we employ a listwise approach with GPT 3.5, we obtain better overall quality than a previous pointwise implementation. And employing a listwise approach with self-consistency further improves overall quality as well as most of the individual dimensions. The agreement also increases when we move to a bigger model from GPT 3.5 to GPT 4o. Self-consistency across the 15 dimensions also helps improve agreement in the case of ConQRet. So besides, when LLM judges are prompted to generate the individual RAG metrics before judging argument quality, they demonstrate better argument quality prediction. That is, when the prompts include groundedness as well as context relevance, then the model is able to better predict argument quality. When the RAG metrics are made more fine-grained, that is, when the scores are at the granularity of documents, we see further improved agreement. This demonstrates the benefit of retrieval-based metrics like context relevance and groundedness in helping better estimates of argument quality, a different metric. To validate how well our best LLM judge, namely the listwise plus RAG fine-grained, predicts context relevance, we compare its precision at different levels of irrelevant context with the true precision obtained through human annotated QRELs. For instance, one popular metric, TrueLens, which generates a single context relevance score, does not strictly decrease with increasing levels of irrelevant context, lacking the necessary context sensitivity. However, our listwise plus RAG fine-grained approach decreases gradually with increasing irrelevant context. Besides, our fine-grained approach provides precision estimates close to the true precision, computed through traditional QRELs. To validate groundedness, we simulate varying levels of hallucination by replacing cited sentences in the argument with hallucinatory sentences contradicting the cited context. These are generated from GPT-4o. Specifically, we prompt GPT-4o with a controversial topic, a gold cited sentence, and its corresponding evidence document, and instruct it to generate a sentence contradictory to both the original sentence and the evidence document. To measure how consistent these metrics are, we increase the levels of both irrelevant context and hallucinated sentences systematically and evaluate the effects of our metrics using Gemini 1.5 Flash and GPT-4o. At varying coarse grained levels of irrelevant context, the groundedness scores decrease monotonically with increasing hallucinated content. When we further add more fine grained levels of hallucination, namely, we find that context relevant scores are not strongly informative. The scores decrease with increased levels of injected irrelevant context. However, they are unable to distinguish fine grained levels of irrelevant context. GPT-4o seems more reliable than Gemini for groundedness estimation. In summary, through our metrics, we observe that LLMs can be reliably used for estimating context relevance. However, prompt-based LLM judges are not able to reliably evaluate argument groundedness and overall quality. For all metrics, LLM judges are not able to distinguish reliably between finer levels of non-relevant evidence or hallucinated arguments. These results have important implications for argumentation as well as language modeling methods, relying on LLMs for eliciting pseudo-human preferences or employing them as teachers for subsequent distillation, or as evaluators itself, as our methods reveal several shortcomings. Our work introduces an automatic evaluation procedure and provides its validation without the need for a large-scale human annotation. We propose the first study on using model-based evaluation for retrieval augmented argumentation systems. We demonstrate how argumentation can be effectively evaluated over two datasets, ArgQuality and ConQRet, showing that our proposed LLM judges are more efficient, interpretable, and align strongly with human evaluations. We also introduce a novel benchmark, ConQRet, designed to evaluate both retrievers as well as RAG systems in scenarios that closely resemble real-world contexts, which are characterized by long documents. Besides demonstrating high agreement with human evaluations, our LLM judges also showed the capability to compute multiple metrics in a single inference call. We feel this encourages holistic evaluation of RAG systems, allowing metrics to complement and inform each other during the evaluation process. Thank you for listening. So if you have any questions or would like to collaborate, feel free to reach out via email.